Hi everyone! I have been really enjoying painting with this Khadi fat book so much that I decided I want to tell you everything about it. So before we begin, I wanted to briefly give a shout out to a watercolorist who has been consistently commenting on my videos as well as others in the community, and also Mrs. Barnabas for having been present and vocal at all my Sunday premieres thus far. Thank you guys! So let's begin. I was initially apprehensive about buying this Khadi fat book, but because I've loved all the other Khadi products I've tried in the past, I bit the bullet and ordered it from Jackson's, linked in the description box below. Khadi's official site says that it is a square fat book with section stitched binding, gray cover with approximately 100 pages. I'd actually like to correct this. It's actually about 100 sheets, which converts to about 200 pages. Medium surface, 100 GSM paper, and a deckled edge on the side. That's a bit contradictory considering when you scroll down a bit, they've put down the paper surface as rough. I'll just tell you this from my experience painting in this, it's definitely not textured the same as other cotton papers, but I would consider it cold pressed. The fact that it's a stitched binding means you can absolutely open it and it lays flat. However, just like the Khadi logbook, the first several pages you paint on will have this drop, and it can lead to watercolor running off the page or pooling in areas of art you don't want. A very simple fix that I do is to just find another book to prop the pages up. Moving along, the selling point: 100% long fibered cotton rag paper, vegan, acid-free, for watercolor and all painting and drawing media. I'm not sure I agree with the statement that it's compatible with all media, but I'll clarify later when I talk about which mediums are compatible. And the size is 21 by 21 centimeters. It's basically the height of an A5 sketchbook, but with the extended side here. Now let's talk about the paper. I'm going to tell you right now that this is either a love it or hate it type of situation. It's 100 GSM, extremely thin. This was the main reason why I wasn't sure if I wanted to buy this sketchbook in the first place. Now, Khadi's 100 GSM paper sketchbook and their logbook were the Khadi products that I had previously experienced, and I absolutely loved both of them, for different purposes of course. And that's also with double-sided painting. So I took a risk having bought this fat book, and to my surprise, this Khadi fat book with its 100 GSM pages takes water so well. I'm able to flood the paper with water and it works just as well as other 100% cotton paper. For my painting style at least. I'll admit there is a learning curve with painting on such thin paper, but once you get over it or get used to it, you'll know it's just like regular cotton paper. Despite double-sided painting, there is no bleed through at all. Do the pages buckle or warp? Yes, as per usual with lower weight papers, but not as bad as cellulose paper. You may get pooling of paint here and there, but generally it hasn't been an issue for me. I do consider myself a colorful, vibrant palette person as opposed to a muted palette person, and I've really been enjoying painting in this sketchbook because despite the notorious criticism that Khadi papers cause desaturation in color perception, I find that the colors have all stayed vibrant for me, and that's a very important point for me because I love my colors to be nice and vibrant. Granulation also shows up very well. If you're someone who likes to paint with granulating effects, you definitely will not be disappointed. I've experienced some paper pilling here and there in other Khadi sketchbooks. I have yet to experience that with this fat book. Thickness. No doubt this sketchbook lives up to its name. Fat book indeed. It's big and thick, definitely a hefty thing. This makes it rather heavy and inconvenient for a travel sketchbook. I'd suggest using this more as a studio or at-home type of sketchbook, and with that purpose, as you can see, I've been practicing florals myself with some quick, loose landscape painting exercises here and there. Because there are so many pages, I feel like despite it being 100% cotton, I don't get that it's too precious to use type of feeling. The thin pages also add to that perception. There's a liberating feeling when I paint in the sketchbook that I get where I feel like it doesn't matter if I fail. There's so many more pages I can correct my mistakes on. However, because this Khadi fat book is so thick, it does take longer to fill up the sketchbook compared to other 100% cotton watercolor sketchbooks currently on the market. It can be discouraging at times, but for me personally, that wasn't the case at all. I've been having so much fun painting in it that I haven't even kept track of how much I've filled up. Next thing I know, I'm working on this review for all of you and found that I've filled up almost a third of the book already, within the span of like a month or two. And personally, to me, that's quite encouraging to myself to know that I've filled up a good portion of an incredibly thick sketchbook. Mediums. As for which mediums are compatible to use with this sketchbook, well, of course I can't cover everything under the sun, but I can tell you about the mediums I've used in this sketchbook and how I feel about them. Additionally, Helen Cryer has some videos on her painting process in the fat book as well, so you can check out her videos afterwards if you want to see multimedia being used in the sketchbook. Pencils. Regular graphite pencils work well. You can do loose sketches, but due to the surface being slightly textured, tight pieces of artwork might not be favorable. Same with mechanical pencils, although I do find that using mechanical pencils seem to have a scratchier feel. Pens. Ballpoint pens and fine liners work just fine. Fountain pens, however, tend to snag on the paper, and your nibs can get clogged easily due to paper fiber buildup between the tines. I don't personally use markers, but I thought I'd test them a bit here. So alcohol and water-based markers also work okay. I'm not sure about a whole piece of art though. I used this Children's Crayons by Staedtler as a resistance when painting with watercolor, and it has stuck onto the paper rather well. I haven't needed to push hard on the crayon, and it sticks to the paper nicely. With this information, I assume the Neocolor crayons should be compatible as well. Watercolor is the main medium I use, and it is 100% compatible as you've seen throughout this video. Colored pencils like Prismacolor, Holbein, and Derwent Drawing are compatible for sketching, but not so much for layered work. Of course, it does go on top of watercolor, but I meant layered work with only colored pencils. Last but not least, would I buy this Khadi fat book again? Yes, 100% yes. I'm predicting another paper sale on Jackson's around fall of this year, so it's my goal to fill up at least 3/4 of this sketchbook, and then I could buy a new fat book. If not, I probably won't allow myself to buy it, so I'll definitely try my best to fill this up. Alright, that's all I have for you today. If anyone has any other questions, do feel free to drop them below. As always, thank you so much for watching, everyone. Don't forget to drink lots of water and stay hydrated.